Forster, A Passage to India. Embark on a journey through the rich tapestry of colonial India in Forster's A Passage to India. The story explores friendships, cultural misunderstandings, and tensions growing between the British colonialists and the Indian people. This captivating tale is set in the city of Chandrapur, as Mrs. Moore and Miss Quested seek to experience the real India. Along the way, they encounter a captivating cast of characters like Dr. Aziz and Mr. Fielding. Through their friendships, miscommunications, and everyday experiences, the novel sheds light on the deep-rooted issues of race, prejudice, and cultural differences faced during British rule in India.
An unlikely friendship. Dr. Aziz sits with his friends discussing the possibility of friendship between Indians and Brits. He receives a message from his boss to meet him immediately, but when he finally arrives, Calendar has left. On his way home, he passes a mosque where he meets Mrs. Moore, a new arrival to Chandrapur, and her future daughter-in-law Miss Quested. Aziz and Mrs. Moore strike up a conversation, and despite their differences, they form an unlikely friendship. A cultural clash. Mrs. Moore and Miss Quested's eagerness to explore India's culture prompts Mr. Turton to host a bridge party for the British and Indians. However, the party turns out to be a disaster as both sides refuse to mingle. Only Mrs. Moore and Miss Quested engage with the Indian women. Their friendly approach amazes the Indians, who are accustomed to British condescension. While talking to Mr. Fielding, the principal local government's college, Mrs. Moore and Miss Quested lament about their compatriots' arrogance. Fielding invites them over for tea, and they discuss Aziz and the possibility of being friends with an Englishman. Aziz's social faux pas. Aziz gets carried away during a tea party and invites Miss Quested and Mrs. Moore to his home, despite his unprepared bungalow. The arrival of Rani, who ignores Aziz, worsens the situation. A chaotic car ride. On their way to a polo game, Miss Quested and Mrs. Moore confront Rani over his snobbery. Miss Quested confesses she doesn't want to marry Rani, causing a rift between them. They are offered a car ride by a local dignitary which ultimately leads to a crash. Miss Derrick gives them a lift back to town, but Rani and Miss Quested do not take to her. Despite their disliking towards her, the experience brings them closer, and they agree to get married. Miss Quested and Mrs. Moore reprimand Rani for his haughtiness while they are driving in a car. Rani drops off his mother, after which, Miss Quested expresses her disinterest in marrying him. Although Rani is upset, he tries to conceal his emotions. Things become suddenly awkward between them, but are interrupted by the Nawab Bahadur, who joins them for a drive. While on their way, their hands touch by chance, and a crash ensues due to an animal in their path. Miss Derrick happens to pass by, and offers them a ride back to the town. Miss Quested and Rani do not take a liking to Miss Derrick, which ends up drawing them closer. Despite their dislike for her, they decide to marry each other. A chaotic expedition. Dr. Aziz faces a daunting challenge to arrange an outing to Malabar caves for two British women, who show little enthusiasm for the Indian landscape. The journey is mired in chaos, causing a sense of failure in Aziz. Despite these negative feelings, the excursion has a profound impact on Aziz's relationship with Miss Quested, one of the British women, and their conversation leads Aziz to reassess his belief in the possibility of friendship between Indians and the British. Dr. Aziz, a Muslim Indian physician, invites two British women, Miss Quested and Miss Moore, to go on a trip to the Malabar Caves, a set of ancient caves in India. Miss Quested wants to explore the caves, but Dr. Aziz forgets to organize the expedition, leading to a misunderstanding that insults the British women. He subsequently goes to great lengths to arrange the trip. When they arrive, nobody seems very enthusiastic about the excursion. The journey gets off to an unusual start, with chaos and anxiety clearly written on Dr. Aziz's face as they are met with the Indian tendency toward disorder. Upon arriving at the caves, the group is not impressed by them, leading to disappointment. Still, The visit has a transformative effect on Aziz and Miss Quested's relationship. Their honest conversation causes Aziz to challenge his beliefs about the possibility of friendship between Indians and the British. Furthermore, Miss Quested's generosity of spirit and honesty changes the impression Aziz has of the British women he previously judged harshly. The excursion ends with Mrs. Moore refusing to enter any more caves due to its claustrophobic and crowded conditions, leaving Aziz feeling like a failure. Nevertheless, the journey leaves a lasting impression on Aziz's perspective on the British presence in India. Aziz's misunderstanding. Aziz and Miss Quested explore the caves with an Indian guide. When Miss Quested asks if Aziz has multiple wives, he gets offended and goes to smoke a cigarette. When he returns, Miss Quested is missing. They find her binoculars but not her. Later, Miss Quested and Miss Derrick leave abruptly, leaving Fielding concerned. Aziz maintains they parted on good terms. Aziz and Miss Quested are exploring the caves with a guide, climbing up to one of the main caves. While they walk, Miss Quested inquires about Aziz's family. However, when she asks if he has multiple wives, he is deeply insulted and goes to smoke a cigarette and recover from the offense. Miss Quested, unaware of the severity of her question, wanders off and enters another cave. Aziz returns to find the guide alone, asking him about Miss Quested's whereabouts. The guide can only point towards the many entrances as they shout for her, but there is no response. Later, they see Miss Quested talking to someone in a car. Fielding and Godbowl arrive at the camp, but Miss Derrick and Miss Quested are nowhere to be found. They find Miss Quested's binoculars at the entrance of one of the caves. Shortly after, Miss Derrick's chauffeur arrives and informs them that the two ladies have left for Chandrapur. Fielding is concerned and quizzes Aziz about their departure, but he insists that there was no animosity and that they parted on good terms. In summary, Aziz's misunderstanding showcases the cultural differences and misunderstandings during colonial India. Miss Quested unknowingly offends Aziz with a question about his family, leading to his unexpected disappearance. Later on, Miss Quested and Miss Derrick's abrupt departure raises concerns. Accusations and Prejudices. When Dr. Aziz and Fielding return to Chandrapur, they find Police Inspector Mr. Hack waiting for Aziz. Miss Quested has accused Aziz of assaulting her in a cave, and the police find her broken field glasses in Aziz's pocket. The British community is outraged, and only Fielding believes in Aziz's innocence. Major Calendar suggests that Aziz planned the assault, and the situation escalates when Ronnie arrives. Fielding is the only one who considers Aziz innocent and refuses to apologize, which causes Turton to ask him to leave the club. Fielding starts planning Aziz's defense strategy with Hamidullah, Mahmud Ali, and the Nawab Bahadur. They engage the renowned anti-British barrister Amra Trayo to take on Aziz's case. Mrs. Moore's transformation. Mrs. Moore undergoes a drastic change following her visit to the Marabar caves and returns ill-tempered and morbid. Despite Miss Quested's growing doubts about Aziz's guilt, Ronnie dismisses her concerns, leaving her confused and weakened. A surprising turn. Tension rises as the trial proceeds in Chandrapur, with the British expecting a favourable verdict due to Ronnie's involvement in the case. Nonetheless, Mr. Das, the Indian leading the proceedings, does not play along and surprises everyone. During Miss Quested's testimony, she hesitates before finally exculpating Aziz of her charges, leaving the British dismayed. A tale of betrayal, friendship, and revenge. Riots break out in Chandrapur, marking Mrs. Moore as a legend and a symbol of Indian victory. Miss Quested is ostracized by the British, seeks refuge with Fielding, and is believed to have betrayed them. Fielding tries to persuade Aziz to forgive her, damaging their friendship. Mrs. Moore's death on her journey home is seen as Ronnie's punishment by the gods. Miss Quested returns to England, and Aziz believes Fielding followed her to marry her. In this intense story set in Chandrapur, riots break out, and the Indians celebrate their victory by making Mrs. Moore a legend, while Miss Quested falls out of favour with the British community, forcing her to seek refuge with Fielding. Despite his attempts to reconcile their friendship, Aziz is convinced that Fielding is having an affair with Miss Quested, leading to the deterioration of their bond. Meanwhile, Mrs. Moore's death is taken as Rani's punishment by the gods, resulting in Miss Quested returning to England. The story ends with Aziz convinced that Fielding left India to marry Miss Quested, leaving an air of revenge and betrayal. It's a tale of friendship, betrayal, and vengeance that leaves one with a deep sense of reflection on the dynamics of power and prejudice. Aziz and Fielding's turbulent friendship. Aziz, now the chief doctor to the Maharaja of Mao, refuses to have any dealings with the British and Fielding in particular. Even after discovering that Fielding had married Stella rather than Miss Quested, Aziz remains distant. However, he eventually softens and rekindles his friendship with Fielding. Aziz's dream of independence for India is now his priority and the condition for a genuine friendship with Fielding.
In conclusion, A Passage to India offers readers a profound exploration of the challenges that arise when cultural, racial, and social differences collide. Through the friendships of Dr. Aziz, Mrs. Moore, and Miss Quested, the novel showcases the importance of understanding, empathy, and communication in building bridges across cultures. It is a powerful commentary on the impact of British colonialism on Indian society, highlighting the consequences of racism, condescension, and prejudice. Through these rich and complex themes, Forster delivers a timeless story that remains as relevant today as it was when first written, inviting us all to contemplate our own attitudes, beliefs, and prejudices.